No Name by Wilkie Collins, dramatised by Ray Jenkins, with Sophie Thompson as Magdalen Vanston, Jack May as Captain Ragg, Eleanor Bronn as Mrs. Leconte, and Nigel Anthony as Noel Vanston. Episode 4, July 1847. Magdalen Vanston has disguised herself as Miss Susan Bygrave in an attempt to win back her inheritance from her cousin Noel Vanston. She has Captain Ragg to help her, but Noel Vanston is protected by his housekeeper, Mrs. Leconte, who sees through Magdalen's disguise.
Dear Mrs. Leconte,
I am assuming the responsibility of answering your letter, as Miss Nora Vanston, having accepted an engagement as governess with a family at present in France for 6 weeks, has asked me to open all letters which might concern her sister Magdalen. Unfortunately, I'm unable to travel to Aldborough as you suggest, and am therefore enclosing the description of her sister you seek. Please note, I have as a very obvious distinguishing mark mentioned 2 little moles on her neck. May I take this opportunity, madame, of formally denying any connection between myself and the person in disguise who made use of my name? I have never in my life been in or near the neighbourhood of Vauxhall Walk, London.
My dear, dear Miss Garth, I thank you.
Together with the fragment from the brown alpaca dress still in her possession, this was proof enough for Mrs. Leconte to face her master with the conspiracy against him. But one obstacle still stood in the way of finally unmasking Miss Vanston, or Miss Susan Bygrave: her present seclusion within her own room.
I have ventured to intrude on you to express the regret with which both my master and I have heard of Miss Bygrave's illness. Is there no improvement?
No, ma'am.
I have had some experience, Mr. Bygrave, in nursing. If I could...
Thank you. There is no necessity for our taking advantage of your kindness.
May I inquire the nature
I regret to say, ma'am, it began with Susan's neuralgic attack in your carriage.
Is it serious?
Indeed.
An odd coincidence, sir. 2 nervous sufferers in the same house.
It is, ma'am, very strange.
Is there no immediate hope of Miss Bygrave being able to leave her room?
None.
You are satisfied with the medical...
I watched the case myself.
Your smattering of science, sir, includes, I presume, a smattering of medicine as well.
I know as much of one as I do of the other.
I defer thanking you, sir, for the manner in which you have received me. But I leave pleased in the knowledge that the absence of a medical attendant in the house must mean Miss Bygrave's illness is much less serious than I had supposed it to be when I came here.
I never contradict a lady, ma'am. Good day. And now for the idiot. I acknowledge that we are in a false position, sir. But I tell you plainly, your housekeeper is the cause of it.
Leconte?
Far be it from me to breathe a word against her. She's no doubt a most excellent and trustworthy woman. But she has one serious failing common to persons at her time of life who occupy her situation. She is jealous of her influence over her master, although you may not have noticed it.
No, I beg your pardon. My observation is remarkably quick. Nothing escapes me.
She is jealous. Yes or no?
Yes.
Susan is a sensitive girl, sir, and not wishing to be the apple of discord in your household, she has decided to avoid Mrs. Leconte's company for the future.
Oh.
Don't misunderstand us. The attraction of your society remains the same.
But what must Miss Bygrave think of me? Damn, I'll send Leconte away on the spot.
Humour her, sir, but keep her away. She just sees you paying courteous attention to a handsome young lady, and poor soul...
Miss Bygrave must not be allowed to suppose I am afraid of my own housekeeper.
No such idea has ever entered her head, I assure you.
Might I have the happiness of seeing her today?
Out of the question. But tomorrow, I propose taking her out before the heat of the day begins. not merely to avoid embarrassment after what has happened with Mrs. Leconte, but because the morning air and quiet are essential in these nervous cases.
Yeah.
If you would care to join us at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Mrs. Leconte must know nothing of the impression she has produced on my niece. I have only mentioned it to you to account for my apparently churlish conduct and to satisfy your own mind.
You have formed the same opinion as mine on the subject of Miss Bygrave's illness?
Certainly not. I consider yours to have been both hasty and prejudiced. And I was received by Mr. Bygrave like a gentleman.
You will be visiting North Shingles again?
If I please, yes. Do I need your leave first, Leconte?
Oh, by no means, sir. You are master. Indeed, I have a private reason for wishing you should see Miss Bygrave again. If you will excuse my fancy and indulge it, you will do me a favor for which I shall be very grateful.
What fancy?
Sir, if you will kindly put this morsel of paper in your waistcoat pocket and open and read it for the first time when you are next in Miss Bygrave's company, and say nothing that has passed between us, I promise to explain myself after. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, sir.
Mr. Bygrave?
Mr. Vanston.
Miss Bygrave is well enough for our walk, I hope.
She's dressing. I'm a plain Englishman, sir. You don't meet me this morning as cordially as yesterday. There is something unsettled in your face. Has your housekeeper been trying to poison your mind against me or my niece?
No, it's not that. Well, it's difficult.
If you have secrets to keep, sir, you have only to say, and I do not intrude.
No, it's not that.
At the same time, you recall yesterday I admitted you to my frankest and fullest confidence.
Why don't you let me explain? I mean no offence.
Oh, none
I
taken,
simply...
sir. Sarah!
What are you doing?
Tell Miss Bygrave that our walk this morning is put off, and I won't trouble her to come downstairs.
Wait, sir. Before that message is delivered. May we...
Sarah?
Yes, sir.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
You are so hasty, Mr. Bygrave.
Family failing. Blood of the Bygraves.
You won't wait and hear what I have to say.
Oh, we are alone as you wish. Pray proceed.
I was asked to read this when I was next with Miss Bygrave, and not till then. I have read it. Here.
Oblige me, Mr. Noel, by comparing the young lady now in your company with the personal description following these lines, and which has been communicated to me by a friend. You shall know the name of the person described, which I have left a blank, as soon as the evidence of your own eyes has forced you to believe what you would refuse to credit on the unsupported testimony of Virginie Leconte. I am not usually a betting man, but on this occasion I will lay you any wager you like. There is madness in your housekeeper's family.
Madness?
I see the cunning of insanity. A far more alarming reason, sir, than I had supposed of Mrs. Leconte's behavior to my niece. It's clear Miss Bygrave resembles some other lady who has seriously offended your housekeeper, and is evidently now confused with my niece and her poor wandering mind.
With my habits of observation, it couldn't possibly have escaped me if Leconte's mad.
Then let's put her description to the test. Hundreds of girls have tall figures, light grey eyes, but two little moles close together on her neck. Those moles, sir, supply us with what we scientific folk call the crucial test.
The crucial test?
Exactly. When my niece comes down, you have my full permission to take the liberty of looking at her neck.
Oh.
I'll go upstairs, and if her hair is dressed low or a frill is too high, I will have them removed. Will you please await me in the parlour? Excuse me. What have you done with your paints and powders?
They're here.
Bring the lot, everything, to my room, now. Ah. Sit down. We are about to be found out. Somehow Leconte knows about the moles on your neck.
How?
Lift your hair up. I've told that idiot downstairs he can see you have none.
They can't be painted out.
I've used black eye for my own disguises. If you can paint out bruises, you can paint out moles.
Who told her? I've always worn my hair down.
Keep still. Who knows your face that well?
My sister, but she wouldn't.
These were mentioned in the handbills at York. Who put them out?
Mr. Pendrell, the lawyer. Miss Garth!
A governess will be easier to deal with than a lawyer. Now there.
What can she have said to Miss Garth?
If I was her, I'd have frightened Miss Garth by false reports about you, then asked for personal particulars to help, say, a benevolent stranger in restoring you to your friends.
No lawyer, no governess shall dispute my right to do as I wish in my own way.
Keep still.
It's high time we finished with risks of discovery. We'll get to our end sooner than Mrs. Leconte can think. How long can you give me to wring an offer of marriage out of that creature downstairs?
You're sure?
How long?
With someone possibly coming to identify you? A week?
Halve that. Leave us alone together this morning, as you did at Dunwich. Is the glue dry?
Yes.
Go downstairs and tell him I'm coming directly.
Take care.
Even if I'm ill, and I will be, I'll match him simper with simper, and his compliments with grace. I'll even shade his thin head from the sun.
Do you believe happiness to be an attainable state, Miss Bygrave?
Yes, I do. Do you, sir?
Until today, I must confess, no. Arrived at, Miss Bygrave, wholly as a result of your company.
Oh, thank you.
I've never enjoyed a walk so much in my life.
Well, back home again, my dear.
I hope you too feel the better for it.
It was a perfect walk.
Oh.
I thank you, Mr. Vanston, for your charming company.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
But now you must excuse me. I have to assist my aunt.
Oh, yes, of course, of course.
Well, sir, did you remark the mole?
None. Such a perfect countenance. I'm half inclined to think my infernal housekeeper is mad. May I join you early tomorrow again?
By all means, sir. But, excuse me for returning to the subject. What do you propose saying to Mrs. Leconte?
I don't know. What would you do, Mr. Bygrave, if you were in my place?
Is Mrs. Leconte an early riser?
No, she's lazy in the morning. I hate idle women.
Then let her discover you in the garden.
Well, as if I hadn't been out.
Exactly. If you're forced to give an answer on the crucial test, say Mr. Bygrave's niece and her description are at variance in the most important particular, and beg that the subject may not be mentioned again.
Oh.
The next day the proceedings were repeated, but this time Noel Vanston went home rapturously kissing a keepsake. He had taken tender possession of one of Miss Bygrave's gloves. For the first time in his life, he had now passed hours of happiness in the society of a beautiful girl without afterward a single humiliating remembrance to lower him in his own esteem.
My eyes feel weak this evening. I hope you won't object if we dispense with candles for a few minutes.
Oh, not at all, my dear. I'm sorry to hear from Mrs. Ragg you were ill today.
I don't want him near me. Yet I know it's impossible. I have elected myself to go through with things, and that shames me. Even when his gloves touch me. But we have business at hand. I must pin him tomorrow. I don't want him here at 7 o'clock. I don't look my best in the early morning. I have had bad nights, and I get up feeling haggard and worn. Tell him to come at 12.
That's rather late. under the circumstances, for you to be seen out walking.
Leave me alone to receive him in here tomorrow.
Admirable. I'll be in the dining...
No. You go out. I'll leave the blind down over my window upstairs. When he's gone, and if he's made an offer, I'll raise it.
Look your best. Make sure of him, my dear girl. Make sure of him.
Hidden on the beach the next day, Captain Ragg watched Noel Vanstone emerge from North Shingles. Then looked up in absorbed excitement at Magdalen's window. He counted to 50. She could get from the parlour to her room in less than a minute. A minute passed. 2. 3. Impatient, he left his hole to return. Then he saw the signal. The blind was drawn up.
Warmest congratulations, my dear. Mr. Noel Vanstone is coming at 2 o'clock. No doubt to make his proposals in due form. Miss Vanstone?
Give yourself no trouble about settlements. Leave the use to which he is to put his money for the future in my hands. I'll be managing that. Don't frighten him over money. What my father intended we should have, he will give back.
Delighted as I am with the turn of events, there is one little difficulty we have overlooked, sir. Have you found it necessary to inform Mrs. Leconte of the new tie which you now propose to form?
Oh, I hate awkward situations. I'm not afraid of her. Pray don't suppose I'm afraid of her.
No need to explain, sir. A common story. Here is a woman who has grown old in your service, who has tried in all sorts of underhand ways to presume on her position. A woman, in short, whom your natural kindness has allowed to claim a right of property in you.
Property? She'll make me pay for my father as well as myself.
Oh, take another glass of brandy, sir, I insist.
Oh. Thousands of pounds sterling out of my pocket.
Oh, gently, gently. The woman knows nothing so far, and the money's not gone yet.
No, I'm only nervous about it.
An unpleasant scene will result, no doubt about it. Inevitable, sir, if your opinion of her sanity is well-founded.
Especially after what happened today. There were no moles on her neck.
Had you shown my note to Mr. Bygrave before the experiment was tried, sir?
No. No, I didn't.
You are keeping the truth from me, Mr. Noel. You are trusting strangers and doubting your old servant and friend. Every time you go to North Shingles, every time you see Miss Bygrave, you are drawing nearer and nearer to your destruction. They have got the bandage over your eyes in spite of me. But I tell them, and I tell you, before many days are over, I will rip it off.
Oh. My niece, sir, is the innocent victim of this woman's increasing hatred and distrust. I am not easily thrown off my balance, but I acknowledge you alarm me for the future.
Well, why should we tell Leconte at all? Can't we be married without letting her into the secret?
You mean it, sir?
Yes, yes.
I am accustomed to set my face against clandestine proceedings of all kinds. But there are exceptions to all rules. Your solution would spare you embarrassment and financial claim from our housekeeper, plus the removal on my side of annoyance to my niece. I'm not against hasty marriages where a mutual flame is fanned by an adequate income. So the preliminaries must be hurried along. I am now, of course, sir, referring to the subject of settlements.
Oh, I'll take another spoonful of brandy.
And I'll take one with you. Now, sir.
Yes. Oh.
You may possibly have observed I am a man of very original turn of mind. The subject of marriage being one of many where I persist in thinking for myself. What does the parent or guardian in my present position usually do? Having trusted the man with the sacred deposit of a woman's happiness, he turns round and promptly declines to trust the very same man with the infinitely inferior responsibility of providing for her pecuniary future. I call such conduct inconsistent and unbecoming. Give me your hand, sir. Tell me on your own word of honour that you will provide for your wife as becomes her position and your means, and the whole question of settlements is decided between us from this moment at once and forever.
For a moment, Noel Vanstone remained petrified with astonishment. The next, he leapt from his chair and wrung the hand of his magnanimous friend in a perfect transport of admiration. Captain Wragge, contemptuous in his moment of triumph over the man who had rated the offer of his protection at £5, allowed Noel Vanstone to keep possession of his hand until the time came to put the little man back in his chair.
Do you believe all's fair in love and war?
Oh, yes.
Do you see any objection to practicing a pious fraud on Mrs. Leconte?
Will she find out?
Not until you're married and out of her reach.
Oh, play any trick you like. I wish I was rid of her.
You shall be, in a week or 10 days' time.
How?
I mean to send her on a journey to her brother's bedside in Zurich.
Oh. Yeah, but he's much better. She had another letter to say so this morning.
Who was it from?
The doctor.
Saying?
If he didn't write again, she might take it for granted he was getting well.
Where does she keep it?
Locked in her accounts drawer.
You have a duplicate key?
I never allowed the books to be locked up from my inspection. It's a rule of the house. Yes, sir.
Could you provide me with that letter privately here for an hour or two?
Why?
Have you any friends in Zurich who could post a letter for us to her from there?
Well, yes, 2 spinsters. They hate Leconte, but... though I'm not usually wanting in penetration, Mr. Bygrave, I don't altogether see your drift.
You shall. My dear madam, since I last wrote, I deeply regret to inform you that your brother has suffered a relapse. The symptoms are so serious that it is my painful duty to summon you instantly to his bedside. I am making every effort to resist the renewed progress of the malady, and I have not yet lost all hope of success. But I cannot reconcile it to my conscience to leave you in ignorance of a serious change in my patient for the worse, which may be attended by fatal results. With much sympathy I remain, etc., etc.
Oh.
Our pious fraud.
Yeah, perfect. But one bad mistake.
What?
The doctor writes in French. Perhaps you meant me to translate it. You can't manage without my help, can you?
Indeed, no.
I'm fluent. Just a few strokes of the pen. The date?
Will depend on the time a letter takes to get to Zurich. I have no experience on that point.
But I have. 5 days.
Date the letter in French. 5 days on from tomorrow. I shall need to practice his handwriting. Have you foreign notepaper?
Yes.
Then that is all I need trouble you to do.
I suppose I may have the happiness of seeing Miss Bygrave tomorrow?
We must be careful. I don't forbid it tomorrow, but I make no promise beyond that. Permit me to remind you we have got Mrs. Leconte to manage for the next 10 days.
Is he coming again today?
At 2 o'clock.
Oh, take me away before he comes or I shall go mad. I can't get over the horror of marrying him. Give me 2 days' rest anywhere in the world away from Aldborough and that damn sea. Then I'll come back. I'll go through with it to the end. Do you hear? You villain. I've been tortured enough. I can't bear it any longer.
If you try to control yourself, you shall leave in an hour's time. Wipe your eyes.
Oh, you're a kind of man, than I thought. I'm sorry I spoke so badly just now. Oh, be friends with me again. Please. I'm only a girl, Captain Rag. I'm only a girl.
Go and rest.
You all right?
Pack up what we want for a week's absence and be ready in half an hour.
Come. I will help you.
Bah, damn the breakfast. She shall not move me. I am a swindler. I won't tell you where we are going because, one, I haven't yet made up my mind, and two, if you don't know where our destination is, Mrs. Leconte can't worm it out of you. She's watching us now.
Oh.
Tell her I'm taking my niece on a short visit to some friends to try a change of air. If you can make her believe you are beginning to doubt my genuineness in cultivating your acquaintance, you will greatly help our present object.
Well, won't Miss Bygrave write to me? Did she send any message?
Pardonable my part to have forgotten it. She sent you her love.
Oh.
Half an hour later, to Mrs. Leconte's utter astonishment, having closely questioned Mr. Vanston and not believed a single word of his explanation, she saw from her chamber an empty carriage drive up to North Shingles, and luggage, Miss Bygrave, and a lady of great height she took to be Mrs. Bygrave, enter it. Mr. Bygrave locked the front door, give the keys to the servant, the coachman mount his box, and the vehicle disappear.
No, ma'am. They're coming back. They'll be sending me a note.
Oh, I've made a mistake. I thought you were no longer in Mr. Bygrave's employ, as he had left Aldborough. You enjoy working here?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that hesitation?
Well, like Mr. Bygrave say, nobody's perfect.
And what did he mean by that, precisely? Mr. Bygrave is a man of extravagant feelings sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Susan Bygrave is adorable.
She keeps to her room, ma'am. I don't see her except at meals. I do the kitchen.
Where you enjoy the trust of Mrs. Bygrave?
Oh, no, ma'am. She's an invalid. In her head, ma'am.
Satisfied that the likeliest way of gaining access to Magdalen's wardrobe lay through deluding the imbecilic lady, and not by bribing the servant, Mrs. Leconte gracefully departed. On the fifth day, the day the forged letter reached Zurich, watched by Mr. Noel Vanston and his housekeeper from differing vantage points, the carriage reappeared, and the Bygraves were at home again.
May I speak with the master of the house, please?
Ah, my dear Mr. Bygrave.
Ah, sir, I won't enter. The reason for annoying you at this moment is the relative with whom we've been staying the last few days possesses 2 pictures, gems, by the old masters, which he is willing to dispose of. If you, sir, as a connoisseur in such matters, wish to see the gems, they'll be visible in half an hour's time.
Delighted. Ah, Miss Bygrave.
Oh.
No gems?
Gems, Mr. Vanston? Am I not jewel enough?
Oh, gems by the old masters.
I know of no gems, my dear sir.
Oh, it's just that your uncle...
I see. You'd prefer to talk art with Mr. Bygrave than idle female nonsense with me.
Oh, no.
Soon you will return my glove.
Never, my sweet lady, no.
Then I'm at your disposal. Here we are free spirits. Bury your need for Mr. Bygrave, Mr. Vanston, as I will any thought of Mrs. Leconte. Does she still frown? Oh, Mr. Noel.
If I may say so, I've never seen you so beautiful.
Thank you.
Your break has done you so much good.
It has brought me back to you. Now, tell me how you passed your hours while my back was turned.
The little man was enchanted. His weak head whirled, his wizened cheeks flushed, and, for him, the half-hour passed like a dream. And when she left him, to obey a prearranged signal, miser as he was, he would have given at that moment 5 golden guineas out of his very pocket for 5 golden minutes more of her presence.
Ah, Mr. Vanstone. Since we last spoke, sir, I've been reckoning up the chances for and against us as we stand at present.
Ah.
If you are still here when that letter from Zurich arrives, all our plans will die. If your housekeeper had 50 brothers all a-dying, she'd throw the lot over sooner than leave you alone with us as neighbours.
You're leaving again?
No, sir. You must leave.
Oh,
Have you told Mrs. Leconte you're beginning to think yourself mistaken in me?
I've done worse. I disgraced myself by saying I doubted Miss Bygrave.
Oh, go on disgracing yourself, sir. Did I speak loud enough this afternoon for Mrs. Leconte to hear me?
Oh, yes. She opened her door upstairs. The gems were an admirable pious fraud.
Thank you, sir. When you get back to Seaview, tell her the gems were worthless. I tried to sell them to you as originals. You tell her you suspect me of being little better than an impostor.
Oh, she won't believe me.
Oh, wait a little, sir, wait. Go out tomorrow with her, usual time. I'll meet you on the parade. You cut me.
She still won't believe it.
The day after, day 7, since we sent the Zurich letter, decline to go out walking. You dread the annoyance of meeting me again. You wish you'd never met the Bygraves. And when you've well worried her with your moaning, ask Mrs. Leconte on a sudden if she can't suggest a change for the better.
Oh, she'll have it ready.
Some place she wants to go to this autumn?
Every year. To Admiral Bartram's.
Have patience with me, sir, but who is he?
An old friend of my father's. My father laid him under obligation when they were young. I'm one of the family at St. Crew. My room's always ready. Not that there is a family, only my cousin George. I've been sharper than my father. I haven't lent George money. Anyway, Leconte adores the Admiral. He treats her like a lady.
The address?
Oh, St. Crew in the Marsh, near Ossory, Essex.
Ossory. Couldn't be better. Mrs. Leconte suggests St. Crew. You take the next day to consider it. Then the last thing at night, you make up your mind to go to St. Crew the first thing the next morning, leaving Mrs. Leconte to pack up your curiosities,
yes.
settle with the tradespeople, and follow you the next day. The day she receives our letter from Zurich.
Ah!
Only carry out my instructions, my dear sir, and as sure as you sit there, to Zurich she goes.
What am I to do at St. Crew?
Wait.
Wait.
As soon as Mrs. Leconte's back is turned, I'll go to the church here and give the necessary notice of the marriage. The same day, I'll pick you up from the Aberrals and take you to London to get the license. If all falls into place, before she starts her return journey from Switzerland, my dear sir, you and my lovely Susan will be man and wife.
Oh, what a head you've got. You're the most extraordinary man I've ever met with. One would think you've done nothing all your life but take people in.
Anything I can explain over again before you go?
I am not to come here again before I go to St. Crew?
The whole success of the enterprise depends on your keeping away. Mrs. Leconte will test everything by one fact, your contact or not with this house. She'll watch you night and day. Do as I say, and she must believe you on the best of all evidence for our interests, and the worst for hers, the evidence of her own eyes.
All passed as planned. The day after Noel Vanstone's departure, at 7:30 in the morning, Mrs. Leconte saw the punctual Mr. Bygrave, towels under his arm, make his way to the beach. Every morning he was rowed out to sea and took his bath luxuriously in the deep salt water. An action the housekeeper had discovered took a full hour. During that period, she had never seen any other inhabitant of North Shingles leave the house. But now Magdalen appeared in the garden, pulling her veil over her face, before hurrying onto the parade and away, northward.
At last, Miss Bygrave leaving well wrapped up
and Mr. Bygrave at sea swimming. Virginie, you have your chance to find that dress. I beg 10,000 pardons.
Lord bless us and save us.
Pray don't resent my intrusion. Allow me to explain myself.
Oh,
I have heard from Mr. Bygrave that you were a great invalid, and I have constantly reproached myself in my idle half-hours at Seaview, where I fill the situation of Mr. Noel Vanstone's housekeeper, for not having offered my friendly services. I found nobody downstairs. I couldn't make the servant hear.
oh, my heart alive. How nice you're dressed.
Oh, I see I distress you. Oh, dear me, you are unpicking that dress again after it has been made. That is my experience entirely, Mrs. Bygrave. Some dresses are so obstinate. They seem to say, no, you may do what you like with me, I won't fit.
That's what this gown's been saying to me ever since I put scissors into it. I know I've got an awful big bag, but why should a gown be weeks on hand and then not meet behind you after all? Oh, it hangs over my bosom like a sack, it does.
I think our bosoms, ma'am, are our great difficulty. Now, shall I make my experience of use to you?
Oh, yes.
Shall I say in plain words what I think?
Yes.
This bosom of yours is an enormous mistake.
Oh, don't say that. It's an awful big one, I know. But it's modelled for all that from one of Magdalen's.
Then there must be some serious mistake in the making of your niece's dress. Can you show it to me?
Oh, bless your heart, yes. Here. There. See? Plaits on her bosom and plaits on mine. And mine are the biggest and my head's buzzing already. Oh, tell us like a good soul what's to be done. Perhaps I'm too big for the pattern. There's half too much of me, Mum, anyway, you measure. Many's the good cry I've had when I was a growing girl.
My dear madame, I assure you, you possess a commanding figure, a Minerva. Plaits are for Venus, folds for Minerva. Your niece has other dresses here. We may find a Minerva pattern among them.
Oh, that's a lot. They may do for Venus and Minerva, but they won't do for me.
Surely there's another one left. Can I see something in the corner behind the dark shawl? Perhaps this brown alpaca dress.
Oh!
Madame?
Oh, cover it up! Cover it up! If I look at it again, I'll think I'm back again in Vauxhall Walk. Oh,
You have some unpleasant memories of this Vauxhall Walk.
the last time I saw that dress, I saw the ghost. With that on.
A ghost! Madame, you are the first lady I've ever met with who has seen a ghost. Pray tell me.
Well, you see,
Flattered by the position of importance which she had suddenly assumed in the housekeeper's eyes, Mrs. Ragg entered at full length into the narrative of her supernatural adventure. But the faster and faster the minutes flew by, the nearer came the fatal moment of Mr. Bygrave's return from the beach, until, with Mrs. Ragg hopelessly wading deeper and even deeper into increasingly confusing detail, there were 2 minutes left to get clear of the house. Why stay with the idiot? She had her proof.
oh, and the buzzing in my head.
Oh, horrible! You freeze the very marrow of my bones. Good morning.
Where are your manners? What do you mean by pitching my gown at me? You nasty foreigner, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Mrs. Leconte glided rapidly along the garden path and out onto the parade, where she stopped. Captain Ragg stood motionless, his towels in his hands. Rightly knowing his first impulse would be to make instant inquiries in his own house, Mrs. Leconte made her way back to Sea View as composedly as if nothing had happened. To find, next to her solitary breakfast plate, the forged letter awaiting her.
That the word instantly was underlined twice leaves me no choice on a matter of life or death but to save precious hours for my journey to Zurich by writing to you, sir. I have discovered to an absolute certainty that the person calling herself Miss Susan Bygrave is no other than the woman who visited us in disguise at Vauxhall Walk. The infamous conspiracy with which you were threatened in London has been in full progress against you, under Mr. Bygrave's direction, at Aldborough. For your own sake, suspend your flirtation with the young lady until my return. If, when I come back, I fail to prove to you that Miss Bygrave is the woman who wore the disguise and used threatening words to you, I will engage to leave your service at a day's notice and resign every claim I have to your grateful remembrance on your father's account as well as on yours. I make this engagement without reserve of any kind. Your faithful servant, Virginie Leconte. In the interest of saving his money, he'll keep away from her. Checkmate, Mr. Bygrave. The battle is over. The game is played out.
Why did you leave her?
I had to get out. I hadn't slept. I had a fever.
What I told you would happen has happened. They met. Disaster. Now, Mrs. Leconte, whither are you bound? Zurich or St. Crew? There's only one way to find out.
How?
If she's going to St. Crew, she'll tell the ghost story herself. If Switzerland, she'll write him a letter to keep us at bay. Don't leave Mrs. Ragg to strangers. I am Mr. Bygrave of North Shingles. I think you have a letter addressed to Mr...
Once the letter's been posted, sir, nobody out of the office touches it on any pretense whatever.
Oh, granted with all my heart. I don't want to touch it. I only want to explain myself. A lady has posted a letter addressed to Noel Vanston, Esquire, Admiral Bartram, St. Crew in the Marsh, Essex. She wrote in a great hurry, and she's not quite certain whether she added the name of the post town, Ossory. It is of the greatest importance that the delivery of the letter should not be delayed.
I'll oblige you, sir. Now, Noel
Vanston, Esquire, Admiral Bartram, St. Crew in the Marsh.
Ossory, Essex. The lady's made no mistake, sir. The address is quite right.
Oh, a million thanks, my good sir. A million thanks.
Nothing but a timely consideration of the heavy debt he owed to appearances prevented Captain Ragg from throwing his tall white hat up into the air as soon as he found the street once more. All further doubt was at an end. Mrs. Leconte was on her way to Zurich.
Monday will be your wedding day. I shall now collect the idiot from St. Crew and take him to London for the license. Surely you're not flinching at the last moment. You planned this marriage of your own free will. I won't have the responsibility laid on my shoulders. If you think better of it...
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days.
Damn the £200! 2,000 wouldn't pay me for this. Rouse yourself. There's my carriage. Of your own free will you tell me to go to St. Crew?
Go.
Miss Bygrave is not well. Tell your mistress to go to her.
There's the house, sir. Which door shall I drive to? Front or back?
The back. Gloomy place.
Part of it's ruined, sir. Some old abbey. Makes it cold there, I don't doubt. Maybe a ghost, eh?
I say, will you take this card to Mr. Noel Vanstone, please, and say I'm waiting here to see him?
Mr. Bygrave! Mr. Bygrave! How is Miss Bygrave?
Get in, sir.
Yeah. Oh!
Your housekeeper has gone to Zurich, and you are to be married on Monday.
Oh, how wonderful!
Don't express your feelings. There isn't time. Get the first active servant you can find and pack your bag in 5 minutes. We have 20 minutes for the London train.
What shall I say to the Admiral?
Tell him it's a runaway marriage and the bride is waiting. Give him these envelopes and ask him to forward your letters undercover to me at this address.
But nobody will write.
How do we know Mrs. Leconte may not write you on her way to Zurich?
Oh, what a head you've got. You think of everything.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something may happen to him. Or me. One of us may die.
You all right again?
My walk has been a little too much for me. I feel tired. I'm going straight to bed. Good night.
Good night.
You see, even your great mind can forget.
Forget?
The bride's maid. Where is she? On the eve of her wedding and unprovided. But I will not trouble you. I will take upon myself the responsibility of correcting your oversight. I'll consult with our landlady. She'll parade the candidates, and I'll examine them minutely myself.
When?
Tomorrow.
After we have obtained the license. I'm grateful, sir. I have business in the afternoon, personal to myself.
And I, personal to Miss Bygrave.
The moon waned over the sea. The breeze of the earlier hours had died out. On earth and ocean the spirit of night brooded in a deep and awful calm. Magdalen saw no sea, no sky. Death, the tempter, was busy at her heart, pointing homeward to the grave of her dead parents in Combe Raven churchyard.
All three of them were bad. And all three, when we came to the question of wages, impudently declined.
Impossible.
Don't despair. A fourth will present herself tomorrow.
But we must leave for Aldborough now.
I am taking the lead in this, sir. I positively decline to leave the metropolis without a maid. I refuse to trifle with my responsibilities. I do.
Yes, ma'am?
It's an attack of toothache.
May I look, miss?
There's no need. It's hollow. I think I've caught a cold in it.
Yes.
I've always found laudanum relieves the pain better than anything else.
Excuse my asking, it's only a matter of form. You are staying at Aldborough?
Oh, yes. I'm Miss Bygrave of North Shingles.
Shall I put a little cotton wool with it, miss?
If you please. What have you just written?
Poison and the dosage. I like to be on the safe side, miss. Very worthy people in other respects are often sadly careless where poisons are concerned. 3p, miss.
Is there danger even in such a small dose?
There can be death, ma'am. Let him be the strongest man in England. Thank you.
Oh, there'll be no fear of accidents at North Shingles. I'll keep the bottle locked in my dressing case. If it doesn't relieve the pain, I must come back to you again. Thank you.
Good afternoon, miss.
The fourth candidate, Louisa, a young woman of small expectations, passed Noel Vanstone's examination, finally convincing him of her value by accepting the wages offered without demur. In his own room, Captain Wragg pocketed Mrs. Leconte's letter to Noel Vanstone, forwarded from some crew.
What is it?
Don't be angry. I'm not settled in my mind about the captain. He's a great writer, not a word. He's quick as lightning and he hasn't come back. Has something happened to him?
I shouldn't think so. Go downstairs. I'll come and speak to you about it directly.
No. Please.
The servant can sit up tonight until he comes. I'll be down. Why not? Why may something not have happened to one of them?
Time enough still, little bottle, before Monday.
As the night advanced, the noises ceased indoors, and Magdalen's restlessness began to return. She tried to quiet herself by reading, but books failed to fix her attention, so she turned to the newspaper next. Page after page were turned mechanically, until her attention was caught by an account of an execution.
She won't draw my beer. She took up with my fellow servant, David Crouch. I went to see her on the Saturday and said I'd marry her like she wanted as soon as we could be asked in church if she'd give up Crouch. She laughed at me. She turned me out of the wash house, and the rest on 'em saw me turned out. I was not easy in my mind. I went and fetched my gun and loaded it. I went out into Pettit's Piece again. I thought I'd try my luck. I mean, try whether to kill her or not, by throwing up the blade of the plough into the air. If it falls flat, I'll spare her, and if it falls point in the earth, I'll kill her. I took a good swing with it, and I shied it up. That fell point in the earth. I went and shot her. That was a bad job, but I did it. I hope the Lord will have mercy on me. I wish my mother had my old clothes. I have no more to say.
From the window, she could just see the gravel walk in the darkness. Then the black night seemed to open over the sea and showed her the blade of the plough hurling into the air. The murderer was standing where the laudanum was hidden, then vanished.
Captain, has anything gone wrong?
Nothing. Noel Vanston took 5 hours to choose a mate for you from a field of 1.
No accident is likely to happen between now and Monday?
None whatever. The marriage is a certainty.
Certain?
Yes.
Good night.
Your fingers are cold. You sat up too long. You'll not sleep.
Oh, I shall sleep. Sounder than you think.
By 2 o'clock, a long letter to her sister was written, and a note to Captain Ragg.
Lock the door of my room and leave me till my sister comes. The money I promised you is in this. You are not to blame. It is my fault and mine only. If you have any friendly remembrance of me, be kind to your wife for my sake. Death. In this drop of brown drink. Father, Richard. Our Father. Oh, I can't. I can't.
The broad grey dawn floated on her over the quiet eastern sea. The sight of the sea brought back the hurling of the blade on the falling point.
I'll do the same.
But on what chance? A little fleet of coasting vessels slowly began drifting towards the house, all following the same direction with the favouring set of the tide. She seated herself with her back towards the direction from which the vessels were drifting, with the poison before her and her watch in her lap.
I'll count the ships passing. If in half an hour the number's even, I'll live. If uneven, I die. 1.
The first came, high, dark, and near in the mist. Then silence.
2. 3.
3.
12 minutes. 3 ships. Then the next vessel passed, darkest and nearest of all.
5. 6.
24 minutes. 25. 26. 27. 28. And the next uneven number glided into view.
7.
29. The minute hand moved onto the halfway to 30. Without moving ahead, she took the poison in one hand, the watch in the other. As the quick seconds counted each other out, her eyes, as quick as they looked from the watch to the sea, from the sea to the watch, looked for the last time at the sea, and saw the 8th ship.
That was episode 4 of No Name by Wilkie Collins, dramatised by Ray Jenkins. Magdalen Vanston was played by Sophie Thompson, Captain Ragg by Jack May, Mrs. LeConte by Eleanor Bronn, Mrs. Ragg by Vivian Pickles, and Noel Vanston by Nigel Anthony. Kathleen Helm was Miss Garth, Simon Bullock, the postmaster, Christopher Good, the chemist, Joe Kendall, Sarah, and the narrator was Philip Sully. The music was by Peter Brewis and was played by Maurice Cambridge. The director was Janet Whittaker.